Look at this pull request. You see that I approved it and then I managed it last week. Well, I didn't do it. One of the secrets to productivity in life is automation. And when it comes to automating mundane, useless tasks around software development, GitHub Actions got us covered. We are going from basics to being able to set up a CI/CD pipeline for an advanced LinkedIn clone. But what is a CI/CD pipeline? CI, which stands for continuous integration, is the process of automatically testing and validating code, and the CD part stands for continuous delivery or continuous deployment. It is the process of automatically shipping code to production or to a test environment like staging. And Git hosting companies offers way to build these pipelines easily. And in the case of GitHub, which is the subject of this video, it is done with the help of GitHub Actions. A GitHub workflow is done with the help of a YAML file that should be added on a specific folder in a code base. And what you are seeing here is a workflow that's going to run every time there is a push, and a workflow could have multiple jobs, so which are individual tasks. So here we have a job that's called hello that runs on Ubuntu, and one job could have multiple steps. So in our case here, we only have one step, which is to printing hello GitHub Actions in the terminal. Behind the scene, GitHub is going to spin up a machine in the cloud with the operating system that we specified, and then it's going to execute the command in the terminal. So if we push this repository to GitHub, our workflow is going to run. Very often you want to try it first locally. So how would you do that? There is actually a CLI tool that's called Act that you can install on your machine, and after having Act here, you should be at the root of your project where .github folder is. If I run Act like this, so it is going to simulate, and as you can see here, it's working. And like using npm packages to go faster, you can also use actions, steps that are built by other people with the uses syntax. And there is actually a marketplace where you can find a lot of actions that do a lot of different things. So now that you have a basic understanding of how all of this works, let me introduce you to the project that we will be automating via GitHub Actions. So here we have got an ongoing LinkedIn clone, as I said, that we have been building for months. So I'm gonna try to log in with one of our users. So this is how the project actually looks like, and it's very advanced. You can check the playlist down below. You may learn a lot of advanced things. So we have our backend, which is built with Java, like on the actual LinkedIn, and the front end is a React.js project, like on the actual LinkedIn. And so far, we don't have any automation, and that's what we will be doing, or that I will be showing, like how I did it. First thing first, I'm gonna show you this workflow file, which is the main workflow file. So it is saying the name is going to be a CI/CD. I'm gonna show you in a bit where this is actually displayed, and it runs whenever there is a push on main or there is a pull request on main. And we have 3 jobs as part of this workflow. So we have a detect changes workflow, a front-end workflow, and a back-end workflow. The detect change, what it does is that it's going to check out the code. So it's going to grab the code from GitHub and have it in the container, and then it's going to run a step that I actually got from the marketplace that actually help us with this syntax to detect whether there is a change in the front-end folder or in the back-end folder, and store the value in these 2 variables. So this is a way to be able to use variables from one job in the others. So here we are storing this one and then this one. You don't have to actually try to memorize this syntax whatsoever. The doc is there and you just can follow it. I want you just to understand actually the logic behind, not the syntax. And then the front-end workflow, what it does is that it is going to say that it needs the detect change job that is done before, and then it's going to use this variable from the detect change, and it checks whether it is true or not. If it is true, it's going to run the front-end workflow, and if it's not, it won't do anything. This is actually a way to be able to not run workflows for the parts of our project that didn't change. And actually I didn't say it, but being able to spin up containers in the cloud cost. And in the case of GitHub, they use Microsoft Azure, but they offer a feature that is very generous that a lot of projects won't exceed. But you can also actually use GitHub Actions but run your VMs in a different cloud provider if you do not trust Microsoft Azure or something. So this is an optimization. So if we were to pay actually for our usage, it is nice to have actions that do not take a lot of time and not run actions that are not needed. Let me show you the front-end workflow. So here, instead of saying run on push or pull request, we are saying run whenever you are called, whenever there is a uses like this and you are called by another workflow. And then the front end is also going to run on Ubuntu latest, and we have a lot of steps. The first one is the same, to go and grab the code from GitHub into our virtual machine, and then we are using this pre-made GitHub Actions where we are able to set up Node.js in the VM. So we are saying that we need Node version 22, and after that we are saying install the dependencies, and we are specifying that you shouldn't run this in the project like root, but you should go into the front end to run this npm install. And then we are linting the project with npm run lint, then we are linting the css, then we are building the project, and these actually are defined in our package.json. As you can see, we have a lint, we have a lint css, and then we have our build. So that is on the front end side. On the back end side, we have the same logic, and here we are also running on Ubuntu latest, but we use these services to be actually able to spin up a Docker container where we're gonna run MySQL, because our project is actually using MySQL. So with this, we are saying that we need MySQL 8, and then we have this health check so that we make sure that the steps that are below run only when our MySQL container is full and ready. And after that, we are doing the same thing, grabbing the code into our container. Then here with a pre-built action, we are grabbing a Java 21, and then we are granting Gradle wrapper, so which is this thing, the execution rights, so that we are able to call it below. So, and then we are simply running a test, and we are specifying that we are using this database with these environment variables, and then we are building the project. So this is going to build the project and also run the test. And we can already push our code to GitHub and test it out, and we're going to do it in a bit, but we could also test it locally as I showed you earlier. But it is kind of tricky here, because when you run act, like by default, it's going to look for a push event, and in our case it's going to run on push events, but we actually have conditions. So if I run act like this, since there is no change in the front end or in the folder, I'm not or in the backend folder, I'm not going to be able actually to test these two. So this is going to run, but this is going to be false, and this is going to be false, so this won't. And we can pass actually arguments to act, and we can simply like create a event.json, and here we can simulate as if some file.js has changed in the front end and some file in the backend has changed, and we can call act with this event. So I actually also have updated my readme, so now I can actually call it like this, and it's going to run like everything, as you can see locally here. So and then I created a branch that is called chore at CI/CD, which is as you can see being here, and as you can see there is no CI that is running, because we said that it should run only when there is a commit to the main or a pull request to the main. And to test it, let us actually create the pull request here. So it's from CI add of our CI/CD to main. So I'm going to create it. Now as you can see, our CI/CD has started and it is running. And as you can see, since the detect changes didn't detect changes in any file, so these two are actually skipped. And to test it out, actually let us come here in the backend and add a print hello world. And now if I refresh the page, we're gonna see that our CI/CD has started. The front end is skipped because there was no change, which is normal, but the backend is running, and we can follow it here. And if you come back to the pull request here, so as you can see, this one is skipped and these two have run, and we can merge it. But I'm gonna actually revert this commit and then merge it. So what we did here is going to be the commit number 19 if you want to check it later. I'm saying this because this project is going to evolve, and we're gonna add more things as we go throughout this series. In upcoming videos, we are also gonna work on our CI/CD pipeline to be able to automatically, for example, deploy our backend and front end to a cloud provider